Hello and welcome to Money Love Immersion. Today we are going to be walking you through a training to bring some attention to all that baggage that you've been carrying around and bringing to your goal setting process. So we're going to be focusing on the foundations of a thriving money mindset. I'm Victoria, one of the coaches who will be talking you through the training today. Gillian, I'm going to hand over to you if you want to do a quick intro while I look for the slides.
Yes. Welcome to our presentation on the Money Mindset Foundations. I'm Gillian, personal development coach and money mindset coach. And together, Victoria and I have been working with entrepreneurs and clients working through their money mindset blocks. And we thought this will be very useful to identify your hidden baggage, which you bring with you every time you plan, every time you work, every time you set goals.
Yes, you do. It's baggage for that very reason, isn't it? It kind of and we're not always aware of it. It's almost baggage that slowly over time we've added to, which is in fact exactly what our brain does. It looks for evidence all of the time. But yeah, we bring this baggage, and today we're just going to shine a light on what is going on for you. So this is very much about identity, and that's where we wanted to start today, is talking to you about identity. Now, you have an identity, a self-image, a program. There's lots of different things we can call it, isn't there, Gillian? But everyone has an identity. And actually, what we do is we don't necessarily know about the identity. It's there, and we act from that identity. It's our programming. It's telling us what we can and can't do. And we can have different identities for different areas of our life, can't we, Gillian? But the
Yeah.
one we notice that needs an awful lot of attention when we set out in business is our money identity. Gillian, do you want to start by giving a few more examples or a bit more detail on identity?
Yes, and I think the money identity is often hidden quite deeply, which is what we're going to talk about in this masterclass. But to give an example of how an identity will run your life is the runners. I mean, runners and cyclists. And I mean, wherever I go, and I notice all around here in Cape Town, I mean, a runner will never miss a day of running. A cyclist will go through great inconvenience to pack their bicycle when they go on holiday, and they just operate. It doesn't matter about the weather, it doesn't matter their mood. It's just part of who they are. And I think it's when you act an identity in this sense that we're talking about is when you act automatically from an identity. So you don't, and that's why it's hidden, because you don't actually even notice. I mean, the runner couldn't begin to imagine that someone else would actually just want to lie in bed and, I don't know, drink coffee and read a book till 10 a.m. on a holiday. They just, that wouldn't be part of their identity. And I think it's that automatic behaviors, which then, of course, in a money mindset can be a little bit more negative.
Yeah, I can completely relate to that running one, actually, because I have had spells in my life when I've done running, but I've never been had the identity of a runner. So I would always be the runner that said, well, I was going to have 2 weeks off while I was on holiday, whereas like I had a partner who would be packing the trainers. But yeah, so that, we just had different identities, and for me it wasn't automatic. It was something that I was very consciously having to do, and what have you. And of course, a great example around, I think, identity for people, and that automatic, because as you say, it's about those automatic responses, is the identity of someone who smokes, isn't it? Because either you're a smoker or you're not a smoker. But if you are a smoker, it's a habit. We all know it's a habit. Everyone talks about it being a habit, but the smoker will automatically collect evidence, won't they? If they're maybe going to go on a long haul flight, they'll kind of have clocked that weeks beforehand and be thinking, right, well, I can probably have my last cigarette at this point. I can go and get some nicotine patches to help me through the flight. I can maybe sneak here and do something else at this point. But they will kind of be looking for ways that they can, yeah, reinforce that identity, keep the habit going. and plan it. And I often use the example, we're talking about money today, but the other example is if you're in the habit of low self-esteem, you're automatically looking for ways to reinforce that low self-esteem, aren't you, as you go through? And it's exactly the same with money. You have a money identity, and you will be looking to collect evidence to support that identity, but you might not know what that identity is. And that's what we're focusing on in today's session, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think the money example could be, and I mean, money identity, just to make it very clear, it's very unique and personal to every individual, because your formative years, your schooling, your work life, your family, your environment, all of that will have helped form this money identity. But one that we see with entrepreneurs and coaches and our clients who run their own small businesses is the one of, let's say, pricing or people paying on time. And the example of looking for evidence comes from, if everyone pays you on time except 3 people, let's say out of 20, you will sit and ruminate and get cross and keep, I wanted to say, you emboss that certificate of, you see, no one pays me on time. But it's not no one, it's 3 people out of 20. And perhaps you could have just called them and said, you forgot to pay me. When are you going to pay me? So, and I think this is when the looking for evidence and the identity running the show, that's one example of the money one.
Yeah. Okay, absolutely. And this is so true. There's, understanding that money stuff as you come into business is foundational, isn't it? Because we need to know what is the program, what level are we operating at? Because if we're operating from a program where people don't really want to pay us for what we're doing, they're not going to want to pay us for what we're doing. If we're operating from an identity where we'll be lucky to have 2 people work with us, we're going to be lucky to have 2 people work with us, aren't we? Even if we've gone off and done lots of other things around the edges. So, very often we find we work with business owners who are, into their journey. They know they've got a great service. People are giving them great reviews, but they just don't seem to be able to break through when it comes to money. And so really understanding what your money identity is just so foundational. It really is.
And I think before we move on to the next slide, I just want to tie that together to the runner example. So if your money identity is no one pays me on time, I never get my bills settled, and maybe it's uncomfortable for you to phone someone and say, when are you going to pay me? It's the same as the runner will run through discomfort. The runner will run in the cold and the snow. I mean, the smokers will, you see them in winter out freezing outside a building with their, they will always find a place. And it's the same then with the money identity. If your money identity holds you back, you won't be able to push through that discomfort, because you'll just say, oh, never mind, I'll just, see, no one pays. So because you don't have that empowered identity, you don't follow up, push through discomfort.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to move on now, aren't we, to just understanding a little bit more about baggage. We've referred to this as baggage. As I said at the start, it's a collection, isn't it? We start off with a belief, and then gradually over time we add more and more to it. And this is through our whole lives, isn't it? So what we really want to do in this workshop, this masterclass today, is enable you to start shining a light on what your money baggage is. And so that's what we're moving on to now with the next slide. Is there anything else that you think we should touch on here before we move on? No.
Let's move on. Let's make it personal.
Let's make it personal. Here we go. Right. Okay. So, Gillian, I'm going to hand over to you on this slide.
So, I mean, I would like everyone, if it's at all possible, not if you're driving, but if it's at all possible, to really now take a moment, get a pencil, piece of paper, and slow down, because we're going to just explore very briefly how you feel, uncover a little bit about your money identity. I mean, this is a usually takes a lot longer, and through personal coaching and various journaling exercises, you can go deeper. But for right now, for today, let's reveal a few little parts of your hidden baggage. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, breathe in, breathe out. One more time, breathe in, slowly let it out. And now I want you to jot down the first emotion that comes up when I ask you, how many times today have you thought about money? Was it 5? Was it 50? And how did it make you feel? And then another question, how often do you think about something but decide that you couldn't have it? Maybe write down a few examples. And here there's no right or wrong. It's really just to go with the first thing that comes up, because there'll be an answer and there'll be an emotion that goes with that answer. Another question, do you think you're undercharging? And how does that make you feel? Do you decide someone can't afford to work with you before you quote? What leads you to that conclusion? Do you adjust your pricing depending on the person you're talking to? How does that leave you feeling afterwards? Do you feel empowered? Do you feel shortchanged? What emotion is there? What's holding you back from a money point of view? Do you think you could only do better if you had a bigger budget? If you had more people to delegate to? How does that make you feel? So I think now I'd just like you to just take a moment and look at what you've written down, the notes you've made, and just get an idea of where there was some resistance, anger, sadness. Sort of sometimes there's, unwanted baggage is going to give us a negative feeling. And I mean, different people will have even maybe none of these actually brought anything to the surface. Maybe there's other stories, or maybe you're good to go and your money identity is perhaps not running the show as much. But what we've discovered is that for most people, because we don't intentionally look at this in depth, it's often the most neglected area. So sum up your feelings, sum up how you describe some of your baggage in a few words, and then let's move on.
Yeah. And just giving everyone a few moments to gather their thoughts there. But as you were talking then, I feel like I want to just mention resistance, actually. That's come up for me, because I think when you said, some people might go through this and, not much comes up, but some people might also know that they're blocking. And I think that's what's really important. And I think as you were talking about the emotions, that's really powerful to pay attention to. For instance, how many times today have you thought about money? You might think, well, just a few times, but if it's making you feel sad when we ask the question, that's what we want to look at. But if you're sort of going to, I suppose, it's that whole thing of collecting the evidence. You will mask if that's what your identity is, that if your brain is so clever, isn't it? So it might sort of say to you, there's nothing here, nothing to see here. But actually, we would encourage you to take some more time if you are feeling a bit uncomfortable around them. I think, that just came up for me. I don't know if there's anything you'd want to add there, Gillian.
No, I think it's a very good point. And I've seen it where someone will say, oh, I don't let it bother me. I can switch my attention quickly. But if you're not getting the results that you want, then there's something under the surface. So before you switch your attention quickly, tap into how does it make you feel. And I mean, at a very basic level, there's sort of happy, sad, neutral, angry. I mean, that's just I mean, you'll kind of know which quadrant you're in on which ones. And sometimes it's about looking after money, sometimes about receiving it, sometimes it's about creating it, sometimes it's about spending it. I mean, there's so many variations of it, but yes, I think it's, we're taught switch your thoughts, mask. It's a huge problem because it's invisible, and that's what we're saying, is that this baggage is often invisible, and it's not sometimes what you think it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that whole thing of that, positive thinking. Yeah, something might come up for you, and we could just say, right, well, just move your attention and go and positive think and believe something else. But what you're feeling is running. It's still running. So we need to really dig into that, don't we? And that's where so many people get tripped up. Yes. Okay.
That's really where we start with coaching, isn't it? You cannot change what you cannot see. And I think that's just really important for people to realize.
Absolutely, it is. So hopefully everyone's gathered some information today. You've managed to uncover something and certainly have something to think about further. But we're going to move on today in the training. Remember, we're sending this training out to you. You will have access to it, so you can go back to it and dip back in. So now, I think I'm covering the title of this slide with our lovely faces. But this is about really, what's come up for you and what has come up. Is it supporting you to meet your goals? Is it? This is what we really want to understand here, because, we suspect you've uncovered things on that first slide that aren't going to support you. If you've uncovered that actually thinking about money makes you feel sad, how can that sadness be supporting you to create the money goals you want? That's right, isn't it, Gillian?
Yeah, and I think where this comes into the growth and goals is that if you set a goal, and we're not saying don't set ambitious goals. If that's what you want, and you have the capability, and it's everything looks fine, then that's great. However, what we're saying is bring in resolving money baggage as part of your activities to reach that goal. Because if you just have this high goal, but let's say you're really bad at collecting payments or tracking your money, or those are common habits pointing to a resistance. It's what's the word? Incongruent to be a powerful CEO of your own enterprise, even if it's your one-person solopreneur enterprise, and not check money in and money out. That is an element of running a business. And I think that a lot of people will say, oh, I'm just bad at it, or oh, I just can't be bothered, or I'll get someone to help me with it. And we really, your money baggage can support you. Your money identity, then it won't probably be baggage, but is it really supporting you? And if it's not, how are you planning to resolve it? Because it doesn't go away by itself. It needs to intentionally be looked at and decluttered and discarded or rewritten. So I think that's really the important part here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just you are, doing so well in business and you're putting so much into it. So actually taking some time to look at this identity stuff is a game changer for so many people that we're working with. And obviously we don't know where we are. Very often we just set that aspirational, aren't we? We're, let's be aspirational, which is fabulous. We really encourage that. It's very valid for people to set those goals, be excited and fall in love with them. But what happens is, which we'll show you in a slide in a moment, is the frustration that sets in if you can't get there. Because if you're operating at a programming and an identity here, you want to create something up there. Yeah, we need to work on this baggage, this identity, and everything that you're bringing to it. So you will have identified from the exercise that you just did a few moments ago where you have some areas to grow and to look at. And certainly if you are sitting here or you came to this training thinking, I just can't get enough clients, or I'm just not making enough money, you will already have something which will be a big indicator for where there is some more stories or baggage, as we're calling it today, for you to dig into. Isn't that right, Gillian? That's usually a great indicator as to why it's not present in your current business.
Yeah, and I mean, you would, whether you're selling little gadgets or gizmos, or whether you're providing a service, you will look after your skills, you will look after your equipment. I mean, whether it's you want a nice laptop, or whether it's you're actually making something physical, you look after all these other resources that we really don't put enough time and attention on ourselves as the greatest resource in our company. And there are people, which is great, who will spend a lot, and I mean by time, investing time and getting whatever coaches they need, or learning, reading, to develop their leadership skills and their confidence and their selling skills and all those other parts, but they forget about this. And I think that's what we tried to emphasize. So if you forget about this, it's like your foot's stuck in one place. You're just going to go in big circles, because leave this behind, it needs to be fixed. And I think we talked before we started this about how you can be, I mean, both Victoria and I came from corporate. You can run enormous budgets, and we've seen the people, they can be really high-powered, very competent, have every single checkbox ticked, but they might be hopeless at running their own personal finances because of this money baggage. So that's we're saying that this is a part that often gets left behind, and that's what I want to emphasize.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And this is where we start with both our group coaching and our one-to-one offers, is really understanding for you what that baggage is, what those stories are, and as Gillian says, rewriting them and shining a light on them and just bringing awareness to them as well. But we always start with where you are and how you're feeling about money, which is so important as well. So yeah, just really shining a light on this is, as I say, transformational for so many people who have been trying all of the things but are just not getting the results that they want when it comes to their money in their business. So yeah, your money baggage right now, it's not going to be supporting your goals. So just moving on to our next slide. This one is really just to illustrate everything that we've talked about, but probably in a little bit more detail for you. And I do believe, I'm sorry, I can't move us, unfortunately, because I'm sharing my screen, but hiding under there behind Gillian, top right corner, in case it doesn't come out like that on the recording, is the light bulb about the goals, really. And of course, what tends to happen is we get all excited, we set these goals, don't we? And we throw ourselves into action, Gillian, don't we? What happens then? Do you want to take over from there?
Yeah, so what this cycle is, we've talked about a lot, and many of you will be probably familiar with it. If you start at the bottom, you've got identity, which we've been discussing. You've got beliefs and thoughts, and that's where your baggage is, in your beliefs and thoughts. Then your beliefs and thoughts will lead to a feeling. So when I asked you that question and you felt sad or fearful or angry or maybe excited, whatever emotion that brought out in you, you're going to take action from that emotion. And this is where the disconnect is, where so many people focus on thought work, which is really important. But when we talk about thought work, we're saying don't forget the feelings. If you want to change your thought, check what feeling am I going to get with my new thought. So this is where affirmations miss the boat sometimes, because they'll say, I am a millionaire. But that feeling, your brain may say, absolute nonsense. And I feel really horrible that I'm not a millionaire. And I feel like a failure because I'm not a millionaire. So that affirmation is actually not helping you or supporting you. The beliefs and thoughts need to be rewritten into something that, oh, I can become a millionaire. I will run a successful business. I have the capacity for this. There's all different beliefs and thoughts. So this is where I want to emphasize that. And the baggage is the stuff that, yeah, you'll never do it. You can't do it. You don't have the know-how. It's baggage when it doesn't support us. And then the goals for the actions, we take actions from our feelings, but we set our goals based on what actions we can do. And we often don't have this, don't go back to saying, oh, I've got to also look at my beliefs and thoughts and feelings. We'll have this list of, I don't know, I want to now have 30 clients. This means I need to have so much marketing, so much presence, so many networking events. I need to speak to people. I need to be able to put 2 days aside simply for that. I need to be able to, it's all practical and tactics. And some of it will be, oh, I need to upskill and so on, but it's all action-based, but without checking the beliefs and thoughts. Who's the who that sets the goals in the first place, and what baggage did you bring with it? And then, of course, this reinforcing evidence is how we close our cycle and reinforce our identity, which is where we started this whole lesson. So if your belief and thought is, oh, I'm no good with managing money, I'll never keep track of invoicing, feeling it makes me feel horrible to speak to people and to follow up actions, I then don't take action. Or maybe my action is I just have like overthinking and I get caught up in my head. Reinforcing evidence, as you'll see, oh gosh, I never get paid on time. But you often forget, oh, but that's because I started with this identity of someone who doesn't get paid in time. So that's the theory, which we've already shown you how it applies to you specifically. And the point that we want to make is that our goals are often action-oriented, but our baggage is belief and thought-oriented. And if you don't look at the whole cycle, your actions and goals will be misaligned.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think as you were talking through that, and you mentioned affirmations, and I think this is quite useful for people to understand that this cycle here, whatever your identity level is running 24/7. Okay, so it's just running, and your brain's, even when you're not even aware, your brain is like plucking stuff out to go, there's a bit of evidence, or, whatever it might be. This is running all of the time. And it is your dominant thoughts that are going to win. Yeah. But we're not aware of them because it is just running. It is running like all of the time. And I think it's just to sort of bring awareness to that, really, that this doesn't just run when you come and set your goals. This is running the whole way through. When you go to a networking event, when you go onto social media and you see someone else doing something similar and they charge something different, and all of a sudden you're like reinforcing, collecting evidence that, oh, I knew I was charging too much, or whatever it is. So this is running all of the time. So just really having that awareness, that, yeah, subconsciously this is what's going on, is incredibly powerful, isn't it, Gillian?
Yeah, and I think that's where the coaching part comes in, is that you will often only see the action because we hide our feelings in the busyness of our day-to-day. Generally, all of us do. We just might be a naturally kind of, I don't know, cautious person, or risk-taking person or happy person, or it doesn't matter how you classify it. The risk-taking, adventurous, happy person could still have a baggage of not feeling like they can charge so much for a certain thing because they've got a money story that we shouldn't be charging for, I don't know, services that help individuals. And that's often we get that, especially in the where people offer services to people. It's like if it's not a business service, then we shouldn't charge too much. It's like a charity mindset. And you can bring that to the cycle, and the cycle is running, but you won't notice it till you see the action. And often you need someone else to say, did you notice that you often do whatever it is you do? And you have to actually take intentional pause after something, perhaps sometimes a reinforcing evidence comes, and that's when you have to pause and you say, okay, let me backtrack. how did I get here again? And then you can go and backtrack. But yeah, it runs all the time. It has to. Otherwise, I mean, if we had to stop and make conscious decisions all the time, we wouldn't be able to do anything.
We wouldn't get far. Yes, there's a thought.
Decisions in a day.
Oh dear, yes, and indeed. So, okay, so what can we do then? Let's let's start sort of moving forwards now. We hope now what you're starting to recognize is that if what you're thinking and feeling about money isn't aligning with those goals that you're setting, then it's not going to happen for you. And that's what we kind of want to sort of bring you to today, wasn't it, Gillian?
Yeah. So yeah, it's really to discover for yourself. You've seen the theory, you've written down your own emotions. I'm sure you've probably got examples. But yeah, how you think and feel about money will dictate your actions. And if those actions don't support your goal and what you wanted to get, then you'll struggle to get there. And sometimes you will get there, but it's so much work and it's so much stress because you kind of have to fight a battle every single time. So that's also an element. We're not saying you can never get there, but you could get there so much easier if your money identity was completely aligned.
And absolutely, and on that actually as well, I just would like to mention that quite often, some people might say, well, I did in the past, I got this far, or I did that, but very often, we can have success because we're really, really focused and pushing ourselves, but we get to a point, but we will come back because our brain, remember our programming is going to say, oh, well, that's not for us. So actually you can, like you say, it can be incredibly hard and take an awful lot of time. And then you look up and find that 6 months later, you're back where you were. And actually this is just, again, the programming that's working there and pulling you back. So yeah, let's not make it so hard. let's make this easier. That's what we want to lead you to today. Okay, so the foundations of a thriving money mindset then. So obviously this is what we wanted to share with you all today is it's these foundations what's so important, because as I say, it's so often overlooked, isn't it? It's so often, go and set these goals, go and do this, go and do that, and you're so caught up in the doing, and you're not noticing that actually you can't outperform what's trickling along for you underneath the surface. So how can you create a thriving money mindset? We've got a couple of examples on there. We're going to talk through those now. Gillian, do you want to start off with the first one? We'll take it from there.
So I mean, the core foundation for thriving money mindset that Victoria and I coach and teach on is a healthy money relationship. And we call it a money relationship because you have feelings towards money, whether you ignore it or whether it makes you angry or whether it makes you happy. There's some relationship. When there's a lot in your life, you maybe feel happier than, but or you could feel more stressed. We have people across the spectrum. But a healthy money relationship is one that is empowering. And that's what we define by healthy. It supports you in making good decisions, being proactive, responding, not reacting, all those things. And that is key to achieving your goals, because that's where you are now. And this is where we were talking earlier about the masking and thinking from future self. We're saying that it's all very well to imagine yourself in the future, but how are you going to get there if you don't solve the current problem and the current blocks and foster a healthy money relationship? So I think that's really, it's always our key piece.
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely is. You know, we're all starting at a very different point, but that we need to know where we're starting from. And when we talk about this in our programs as well, this isn't about looking at your circumstances and looking at, you know, I owe this much money, that's coming out, this is due, that's due. This is about how you feel about money, because those, you know, other aspects have happened because of how you feel. And what we want to dig into is what's your starting point? How do you feel? But then how can we start moving you through that as well? And that's really is one of the, you know, the foundational points for a really healthy money mindset, is learning that you are in a relationship with money and you can influence that relationship. And yeah, and it's incredibly powerful. So that's a really important starting point. And of course, making the unconscious conscious is a massive game changer, isn't it, Gillian? It's huge.
I mean,
Um,
that's
yeah.
the starting point.
Absolutely. And, you know, there's so much wrapped up, and you will have already started to pull some bits out from the questions we've asked today about some things that you perhaps need to go and do a bit more thinking around or journaling on. We do have a journal actually, which is all around how you feel about money. And we'll probably pop a link to it in the email that comes out, or you can excuse me, certainly get in touch to request a copy, but to start to notice, to bring it into your consciousness that actually, you know, that's what's going on for me behind the scenes. And, you know, paying attention and starting to build new habits is really important to help you to pull that unconscious into the conscious, isn't it, Gillian? That's a really powerful place to start with that work as well. So just noticing that something is a story. Okay, doesn't have to be that way, just shining a light on it. And you know, just starting to move forwards is really what we recommend there, because you know, if you can have the awareness to stop yourself, we've said so much of this is automatic and it's not going to change like that, but you can stop yourself, pattern interrupt, go, hang on a minute, that's an old belief, that's an old story. Is that true? Is that true? Is it true that I can't earn money? Is it true that I'm not good with money? Or is that just what I heard growing up? Is that just what people have reinforced through my, you know, through my life? That's, you know, just having that awareness and just stopping yourself and asking, is that true? Is a way to help to move you to actually stop the autopilot and start bringing more to that process. Is there anything else you'd want to add there, Gillian?
Just to emphasize that it's unconscious. So you really have to dig to identify it. And another useful way to do that is, so if something happens, you don't have a very good month in your business, I invite you to sit and write a page down of all the thoughts that come to you with that situation. I didn't have a very good month with my business. And if you write down all the thoughts, you'll be amazed how very few of those are facts. So you might find that the only fact is that the income for this month was less than the last 5 months. You might even find that it was actually more than, say, all the months before then. But you'll be amazed. You'll have like, I can't sell, the market's gone down, no one wants my product. You'll probably find, and it's amazing when you actually start looking at it and you start saying, well, what of this is actually a fact? And there'll be very few. So these unconscious thoughts are unconscious. You cannot change them overnight. There are millions of them, but you can pick one, and you can find one that's probably going to be the game changer, and you can work on that one. And that's it's really about making the unconscious conscious. We can't emphasize it enough that is where you have to start. It seems simple, but almost nobody does it because you don't notice it. You have to actually stop, pause, and do a bit of work and dig into it to get it there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you've got that consciousness, that's when the unlearning can come into play, can't it? And yeah, that's such a big aspect of it as well. Is yeah, learning, well, unlearning that actually that automatic response that you've been having all this time, every time someone mentioned the word money, is for the changing. Absolutely is something that you can work on there. Yeah. Is there anything else that we'd want to share on that? I know you were just about to say something, Gillian, around the
just on the unlearning. So to unlearn something that's taken 30, 40, 50 years to become hard coded in your being, and probably has an emotional charge, like, trust me, it takes time. And I think time and repetition. This is not a one and done quick, okay, now I've got my new story. This is not a computer program. Our brains are far more complex. So I just wanted to emphasize that it takes repetition and time.
It does. And of course, that's how we've, like you say, that's how we've learned everything over the years. And I think that's why when we came to creating the coaching containers we have, it was so important that actually what we were creating was an immersion for people, because, we could meet someone once a month for 3 months, but actually, are you really getting that light shone on those automatic responses? And are you really getting the support you need when suddenly you've tried something and it feels really hard and you get frustrated? And this is why we're very much about that immersion, aren't we, in helping people to really move forwards and yeah, to just unlearn and create new habits.
And of course, and I just wanted to add to that is, I mean, that's why we make ourselves available. That's why we have this immersion type coaching. That's why we're always supporting, because one of the problems with coaching on this topic is people have resistance. So then they stop doing the work. And there's a commitment that needs to take place to say, okay, even if it's hard, I'll trust Victoria and Gillian to message me, ask me, how you doing? Have you done it yet? Try and just move you through that resistance. Say, okay, now let's sit and have some time and actually work through what's stopping you. Because, I mean, you've got resistance. That's why you're trying to solve it. So that very same resistance can be the thing that stands in your way of even going through these programs. And that's why I just wanted to emphasize that it's not only the immersion and repetition, but also being available, having us as support people to help you through whichever coaching program you sign up for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, so there is absolutely hope. You can do so much about this. And, today you've already done an awful lot. You've started uncovering what is going on for you. And, so that's great. Now you have started to notice, and I hope you perhaps take the time to listen to this training again and to immerse yourself that bit more in what we're talking about, because, today you've probably uncovered stuff that you've been encouraged to cover over, skirt over, in favor of just simply positive thinking and what have you. And then you stay in that loop of being frustrated and disappointed. So yeah, that's what we were aiming to do today. And you have already uncovered some stories to move forward on. So yeah, but we wish you all the best with that. Okay, so we're going to round up now, and we've obviously alluded, as we've talked through, about our program Money, Love, Immersion. And we did just want to talk quickly about that there's two ways that people can work with us. So if today we've got you thinking and you've started going, yep, actually, yeah, now I think about it, I can see that it's that belief that is running the show for me, and I want to do some work around that. There's two ways that you can do that with us. We have a 30-day group coaching program And that focus there is all about your money relationship, okay, and transforming your money relationship. So this is a very beautiful program. It's a very supportive program, and it takes you through a process of changing your perspective around money and transforming your relationship with it, doesn't it, Gillian?
Yeah, very, very powerful. And the people who've been on it have really enjoyed the sort of small daily activities to keep you moving along. We take you along this journey of discovering, uncovering habits that you can instill to transform your relationship, and ways that you can make it real, because we're all about practical. I mean, I think there's so we don't need more information. You need to actually just be supported in doing what needs to be done.
Yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
really our focus, is
Yeah,
helping get it done.
yeah, get it done. It's that support around that resistance, and so
Mm.
often, all too often, people say, you just, you don't understand, you just need to do this. Well, actually, no, we need to do all of this stuff first. And this is what our focus is in the 30-day program and our one-to-one personal coaching program as well. This again will work you through the program, or walk you through the program rather. So you will go through all of those activities, but you will have, Gillian and myself again around the edges supporting. And it's that, the personal element is that, for many people, money is such a weighted subject, isn't it? It still carries so much taboo. And some people just recognize that actually, do you know what? Yeah, there is so much here, and they just want to have that added personal touch with that program, don't they, Gillian?
Yeah, and it'll be a far more sort of personal, bespoke program, because you'll have a few single solo sessions where we can actually help you uncover. So perhaps it's the baggage side that's a problem. Perhaps you kind of know that, but you've struggled to implement the habits. Perhaps there's some other identity problem, or identity issues that are working against this money identity, and that sort of deep dive into your personal experience and where your resistance is showing up the most. I think that's the extra value of the personal coaching.
Yeah, absolutely is. It really is. And it just helps to move you past this. And it's, as I say, such a foundational piece. You are already aware of money mindset. You are already aware of goal setting. But for whatever reason, you're just not breaking through. And it's because of these foundational pieces. And this is our focus, and really, tailoring our support to help you to absolutely break through when it comes to your money goals. So those are two ways that you can work with us. Gillian has obviously emailed this training out to you, or we have rather, and you can, get back in touch with us that way, can't they, Gillian? And we do have a Facebook group as well that is quite an emerging Facebook group. We're just in the process of building that up, but you can join that as well, and come and have some different conversations. We talk every week about something related to money, something that's going to be showing up in your business. And this could be anything from money stories to money blocks to money ceilings, to the language that you're using. So this is a great Facebook group as well to really support you in growing your business. So thank you so much for listening today. I don't think I've got anything else to add, but Gillian, I'm going to hand over to you to wrap up. But thank you everyone for listening, and we look forward to meeting again soon.
Yes, thank you, everyone. We really feel passionate about this, as resolving this money mindset and creating a strong healthy money relationship really can accelerate your progress, because you've probably been focusing on so many other aspects that once you take off this handbrake, you will fly. And we've seen that with so many of our clients. So I really invite you to consider looking into the different programs that we offer. And thanks for joining. And we hope that you have found value in uncovering some of your money baggage.
Thank you.